Welcome back to another video. Today is the start of the NBA season. Today is the first day of the NBA season as of when this is being recorded. And so, yeah, obviously I'm recording this in the morning before any of the games happen. Today, obviously, we have two games. But, yeah, I decided, you know what? We're going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to build out on Tier Maker my first seed, second seed, like just basically predict the standings of the NBA. If you are someone who watches this channel at all, you know I'm not a great editor. So because of that, that's why I'm on Tier Maker instead of trying to, I don't know, make like my own standings thing that I edit. This just was something that I thought was easy to find, so we're gonna do it on here. But yeah, obviously, if I put a team in here, then obviously we'll talk about it. Okay, we'll just go along. We'll talk about it. This is obviously not something that is like super serious. I didn't like really think about this. I just pulled this up right now, and we're just gonna go along as we do it. So let's get started. We're gonna go. I think starting with the West. First seed in the West, I have the Thunder. The Thunder made obviously a pretty good amount of moves in the offseason. Or not a lot, but obviously they added Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. Hartenstein won't be playing to start the season. But, I think they were already the first seed last year. This team only got better. They have a lot of young players. Another year of development. And then also, obviously, with the additions of, like I said, Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso, I think it even makes his team even better. And yeah, so I see them as for sure the number one team in the West. If you look at a lot of the other teams in the West, I don't think a lot of them got better, or at least to the amount that the Thunder did. Like the Timberwolves, they made that trade for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. And even if it does end up working out, I could see a world where, they lose a few of the games to start the season. And because of that, it kind of like already eliminates them from being the first seed over the Thunder. And then the Nuggets, they got a little bit worse, losing KCP. And yeah, I don't know. There's not many other teams I think could be really the one seed in the West. So we got the Thunder. We're just gonna do, like I said, West first. So 2 seed in the West. Who do I have for the 2 seed? I'm gonna have the Timberwolves. I still think even with the trade that they made, I think Dante DiVincenzo is gonna be really nice. I think they still have a nice team, and a good regular season team. Especially, I don't think Rudy Gobert works in the playoffs. But hey, good thing this is the regular season. So, yeah, I have the Timberwolves as the 2 seed. I think they're gonna be like a pretty good team. Obviously, Julius Randle. A lot of people question the fit. I don't think it's as bad as people make it seem. He did play next to Mitchell Robinson, so like it's not like he was not playing around a non-shooting big. Like he was playing around someone that couldn't shoot either. So him playing next to Rudy Gobert, I don't think is super crazy. But I do want to see what they do in terms of their lineups, because I do want to see Naz Reid play some more. Like there's people who think that Naz Reid should start over Julius Randle. And I don't really know myself, because I mean Julius Randle gets paid a lot to be coming off the bench, and he was literally an all-star player. But I do think Naz Reid makes a lot more sense in the starting lineup. But yeah, so I have them as a 2 seed. I'm gonna have some bold claims on here just because I don't know. Like obviously I could just pick kind of the one that makes the most sense every time in terms of like the general what everyone else probably thinks. But I feel like that kind of makes it a little bit boring. I want to have some bold picks. I'm gonna have the Nuggets as the 3 seed. The Nuggets, obviously, they lost KCP, but this team, even when they aren't a championship contender, truly, I guess you could say, they still have always been a team that's really good in the regular season. Literally before they won their championship, they were a high seed every year. So, I mean, regardless of if you think this team's going to win a championship with the team obviously losing KCP and what Christian Brown could do to kind of replace him, this team, like I said, they're just good in the regular season. They're always going to be a high seed. And so I think it makes not as much sense to put them any lower. The one question mark I kind of do have for their team is obviously Jamal Murray. the Olympics did not look good. And it is the Olympics. It is different. So sometimes you can't put too much into it. But at the same time, you're playing for Team Canada and you struggle that bad. That's not a good look, okay? So, yeah, I mean, I do want to see, obviously, what they do. I obviously assume they're going to be a high seed. So, next, I'm going to have... I'm going to go with the Grizzlies. This is somewhat, I guess, a bold claim. A lot of people think the Grizzlies are not going to be that good. I honestly think this team's going to be pretty good. Like, I mean, obviously, it is a hard conference. Or honestly, in general, the NBA nowadays is a lot harder. Like, if you go back in the past and look at some of the teams in the past that were bad, the worst teams in the league this year are still better than teams that were really bad 10, 15 years ago. I think the league really needs expansion because making the standings is honestly really hard to predict when I think the 1 through 10 seed in the West is good. Literally 1 through even 12 probably is all really good. Like, honestly, on paper, pretty decent teams. But yeah, I think the Grizzlies, obviously, last year was kind of a year that they kind of just, a wash. They had everyone out with injuries, stuff like that. But hey, I mean, you got obviously everyone coming back. I think Ja Morant is like that. I think their team in general, they have a lot of good pieces. I like G.G. Jackson. I would like to see what he kind of does in terms of producing now that there's actual pieces around him, what he looks like, and if it was just inflated stats or if he's actually like that. So yeah, I have them as the 4 seed, kind of I guess one of my bolder picks, just because I feel like a lot of people do kind of have them in the 9 to 12 range, like a play-in team. But yeah, I think they're going to be pretty decent. So, the 5 seed now. Let's see the 5 seed. Who do I go with for the 5 seed? We have some options. I'm gonna go the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks are going to be the 5 seed. The Klay Thompson edition, a lot of people kind of said, it makes them a lot better. I truly don't think it makes them that much better. It's kind of been a conversation. Does it actually make them a better team, or did they get better at all? I don't know. I mean, you brought in Najee Marshall, you brought in Klay Thompson, Quentin Grimes, but you also lose players like Derrick Jones, who I think was one of your biggest players in the playoffs. And so to lose him, I think obviously it's gonna make an impact defensively. He was really big defensively, and yeah, I don't know how much better this team really looks than last year, and I could just see them being a 5 seed team. Does that mean I think they're not a contender? No, because honestly, like I was saying before, in today's NBA, I'm not gonna lie, there's teams that even the 8 seed, I'm confident there's a chance that they could win a championship. In years past, literally like 2010s, an 8 seed, I literally would have no confidence that they're winning a championship. They're just literally going to be like a first round exit, okay? That has changed a lot, and I mean, it's obviously good. I like the competition. 6 seed, call it bias because I am a Lakers and Bulls fan, obviously from Chicago, so I like the Bulls. And then the Lakers, I like because my favorite player is there, D'Angelo Russell, okay? Yeah, D'Angelo Russell. If you don't watch my videos, I know it's not a common favorite player, but that's why I like the Lakers. And maybe it's a little biased, but honestly, I think the Lakers are kind of overlooked at this point. Like, I feel like a lot of people have talked about the Lakers as a team that isn't, a contender or a team that isn't good. And obviously they didn't make any changes in the offseason except for JJ Redick. But, bro, like, I saw a video the other day, JJ Redick actually doing normal coach things, coaching his players, talking to his players, and it made him look like 10 times the coach that Darvin Ham was already, just from doing normal coach things. Because, yeah, Darvin Ham, I'm not going to lie, that guy literally at practice, every time I seen any type of video, he's literally just sitting there with his hands in his pocket. He does it in the game. He does it everywhere. Bro, I saw the Bucks when he got signed to the Bucks staff this offseason. Darvin Ham, they had to remove the pockets off his pants because they knew he was going to be putting his hands in them pockets, because that's just what he'd be doing. So they made sure they gave him some pants without some pockets. But yeah, so the Lakers, obviously, I think the coaching change alone makes them a lot, better. I also think last year our record wasn't as bad as people kind of make it seem. Like, we were 3 games under being a 50-win team. And yeah, I mean, I think obviously health plays a big factor. Obviously, LeBron in another year of his career, can he stay healthy? AD was really healthy last year. Can he stay healthy again this year? Obviously, a lot of people talk down on D'Lo. I think it's unnecessary. Me being a D'Lo fan, a lot of what he did last year, and I know the playoffs, obviously he didn't perform up to what people would want. But at the same time, in the regular season, he's been good, and they wouldn't have been at that point without him. He literally had a career year last year, but people kind of talk him down like he didn't do good. It's kind of weird. Like, honestly, like, it is really interesting that if you really look and watch, D'Lo is literally playing good. Austin Reeves, Don Connect, I do like. Overall, I just think this is a 6-seed team. I mean, obviously, I see a world where they go down to 9 or 12. Like I said, this conference is very fluid. I could see some of these teams going up to 1, 2, 3. I could see some of these teams dropping all the way down to 9 and 12. So yeah, but anyway, 7 seed. 7 seed. I'm gonna go with the Pelicans. Or no. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with the Pelicans. The Pelicans. Obviously, another thing is Zion's health. I think that is gonna play a big role. But overall, I mean, you got a pretty good trade for DeJounte Murray. You bring in DeJounte Murray. The biggest question I have for this team, and maybe not as much in the regular season, but also just the postseason, is the center position. I heard that they're probably going to be starting Herb Jones at center. That means on nights he's going to have to face, in the West, players like Jokic at center and players like Wemby. Like, I mean, that does not sound fun. So that's honestly their biggest problem, is obviously the center position. And that's kind of what I think I have them at the 7 seed for, is that they don't really have too much size to really fill at the center position. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously the health of Zion, like I said, is kind of also why I would say the 7 seed. And defensively, I mean, you bring in DeJounte Murray, but, I mean, he hasn't been the defensive player he's been since he was with the Spurs, which is a big reason why him and Trae Young didn't work, is because, he wasn't as good of a defender unless he has kind of the other defenders around him, which he, I guess, kind of does have some on the Pelicans. You have obviously Herb Jones. You lost Najee Marshall, so that's one of your really good defenders you kind of lost. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of a make or break year for them, because they're a pretty expensive team. So yeah, 8 seed. I'm gonna have the Rockets. I think the Rockets, last year they ended the season pretty good. They have a lot of young talent on the team. I think obviously another year development, they're going to be even better. And I just think overall, I mean, you lost Alperen Sengun last year. I do really like him. I think this team's worthy of finally kind of being a team that's actually having a chance of making the playoffs again, since having Harden. So not much else to really say. I just think the Rockets are actually going to be pretty good this year. Pretty good's a stretch. Well, pretty good, okay? Pretty good. For the 9 seed, I'm going to have... I mean, this is what I'm saying. It's hard, because we still have the Kings and the Suns here, and we're at the 9. I'm going to have the Suns at 9. I don't know. I mean, the Suns are a team that is really interesting, because I could see the Suns being literally a 3rd seed. I could see a world where the Suns are a 3rd seed. They obviously have the top talent on the team. It's really just the depth of this team. I do like their draft pick, Ryan Dunn. He has looked pretty good in the preseason. I already said from when they drafted him he was going to be a good fit. But yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down to obviously the health of their team. I think has been fine. None of their players has been unhealthy. But overall, I think it's just their depth. It doesn't really it doesn't make up for it. Like, I mean, there's going to be games where they have some of their top players miss a game just because, I mean, in today's NBA, no one is going to play really the full 82 that often. And on nights where you're missing maybe Kevin Durant or Bradley Beal or, Devin Booker, you're missing one of them. I don't know if their depth is enough to find a way to win some of those games. Like, if some of these other teams are missing one of their star players or one of their other players, like the Pelicans, if they don't have Zion for a game, I could still see them winning some games without them. Like, just because the rest of the team, they have a lot more players, they have some depth. The Suns don't really have that. I mean, if the Suns are missing, like I said, one of the key players, it's not probably going to end well for them in that game. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, so I have them as the 9 seed. Obviously, I still think this team could be really good, though, but it's just a hard conference, honestly. 10 seed, I'm going to have the Kings. The Kings obviously got DeRozan in the offseason. I don't know. It's just a hard conference, honestly. That's really why I have them as a 10 seed. It's really hard to actually find a way to put them here, but yeah, I mean, DeRozan, I don't think is a perfect fit, and I don't think any team DeRozan's really a perfect fit on, just because of his style of play in today's NBA. He's not someone that's like, a really good 3-point shooter, and he's kind of someone that kind of likes the ball in his hands. So unless you're building a team kind of around DeRozan, it usually isn't going to be that perfect of a fit. But yeah, I mean, I think this team's obviously really good. I just think that it's a hard conference, okay? That's really all it is. The 11 seed, I'm gonna have the Spurs. I think them getting Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, 2 veterans, is gonna be something that helps them a lot. Chris Paul might average 10 assists. I'm not gonna lie. He looked pretty good when I was seeing him in the preseason playing with not even just Wemby, but just a lot of them. Like, I mean, Jeremy Sohan looked pretty good on offense when he had Chris Paul out there. And yeah, I mean, I think the Spurs are going to take a little bit of a jump before they truly become, a pretty good team. And yeah, I mean, Wemby year 2 is probably going to be pretty scary. I'm not going to lie, because if anybody plays me in 2K with Wemby, we're going to have problems, okay? I'm not playing that kid. Especially in 2K this year. There's no contest, okay? He's 7'5". He's shooting over you, okay? 12 seed, I'm going to have the Warriors. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to count out a Curry team. But at the end of the day, I mean, they had a few additions that they got onto this team. But like I said, it's just a hard conference, and I don't see them better than many of these other teams. Like I said, with the Suns, if you're missing one of your players like Draymond, Curry, someone like that, like, it's going to be hard for you to find a way to win some of those games. I would like to see, obviously, how, Kuminga is going to be. Literally before I made this video, I saw, obviously, there was, like, reports that, he kind of turned down a contract extension because he wants more money, because he thinks that, this year he's going to play really good and kind of take a step kind of like, we see with, like, Pascal Siakam, Kawhi Leonard. And so, hey, if he does that, this team could easily be a higher seed because, hey, if Kuminga's good, they have another star player. And yeah, Brandon Podziemski, I would like to see how he'll be in year 2. But yeah, it's hard to place people in this conference. Like, literally, it is really hard. And even probably the East, when we get to it, is going to be really hard. But now to the bottom teams. I'm going to have the Clippers, which is kind of crazy to say, but I mean, the Clippers have just, it's not looking good for the Clippers as a franchise as a whole right now. You lost Paul George in free agency. Kawhi Leonard now, obviously, who knows what's going to go on with him, how long he's going to be out for. If it was Kawhi Leonard healthy, I could have seen them probably being like a 9 seed, something like that possibly. But, you don't have Kawhi Leonard for however long he's going to be out. You really just got James Harden and friends. I mean, you have some decent pieces on the team, I guess. But overall, in this Western Conference, that's not going to get you anywhere. And then, yeah, they don't even have their picks. It's just not looking good for the Clippers. But yeah, that's why I have them as a 13 seed. 14, we're gonna go with the Jazz. I mean, like I said, this Jazz team isn't even that bad. It's just in today's NBA, they're a bad team because of how much talent there is in the league. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They have a lot of young pieces. I do like a lot of their, young players. I think they've had a good draft the last 2 years. I like Keontae George that they drafted last year and then this year. Obviously, I think they had honestly a few steals. I would like to see what Isaiah Collier is gonna do. And yeah, I mean, it's just a hard conference. Okay, it literally is just a hard conference. And then 15, we have the Portland Trailblazers. Not much else to really say except the fact that I could see them selling a lot of pieces. Like out of all these teams, if I had to say biggest seller, it's probably the Trailblazers. I could see them trading Jeremy Grant. I could see them trading away, players like DeAndre and Robert Williams. Since you drafted Donovan Clingan, and he's gonna obviously try to find a way to get more minutes. And yeah, I mean, I could see them selling off some pieces at the deadline. Obviously, meaning they're gonna be worse, lose some more games. So that is the Western Conference. Thunder, 1 seed. Last, we have the Trailblazers. And yeah, I mean, I guess my bold claim here is the Grizzlies. Obviously, I kind of want at least like kind of one bold claim on each conference just to have some fun with it, okay? And yeah, so now on to the Eastern Conference. The 76ers, I was highly considering for the 1 seed until obviously Paul George was out. I don't know how long it's going to be for, and obviously the health is a question of that team. So, first seed, I have the Celtics again. This team's obviously really, really good. I think they're going to be good again. I mean, they don't have Kristaps for, I'm pretty sure, quite a while, but at the end of the day, this team is still going to be a really, really good team. And I just think if there's a team I'm most confident about being a first seed, it is the Celtics. Yeah, I mean, not much else to say. They're just a good team. We all know that. Number 2 seed, I'm gonna have the New York Knicks. I think the depth of this team is the big reason why they could even be the 1 seed. I kind of been preaching this whole video about health of players and availability is going to be a big thing in just the regular season. That's really a big thing in actually trying to be a good regular season team is availability. And obviously you get Mikal Bridges. The guy literally does not miss games. And overall you have so much depth that if you're missing one of your star players, you're missing one of your top guys, they have a lot of guys that could fill in the roles and kind of take over that role for a few games if they have to. So, yeah, I mean, the next team that they have is obviously really good. I think the Cat Edition was good. However, the defense of it is going to be something where we're going to have to see. But you still have a lot of good defensive wings around him, so they're not going to be a bad defense. But the interior could be a little bit weaker. I don't know. But yeah, this team's pretty good. So that's why I have them as a 2 seed. 3 seed, we have the 76ers. Another team I could see being the 1st seed. I think these are kind of the power 3, I guess you could say, in this conference. Like, these are the 3 teams I'm really thinking are true contenders in this conference. And yeah, I mean, this team's obviously really nice. They brought in Paul George. They brought Andre Drummond back, Eric Gordon, Caleb Martin, I think, or the other Martin. I think it's one of the Martins, the one that was on the Heat. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's Caleb Martin. And yeah, overall their team's nice. Okay, and they were good last year without Paul George. I think obviously having Paul George is gonna make them really good. It's really just gonna come down to the health of them in the playoffs. I think at least. I mean, even in the regular season, their health's gonna obviously be a big determining factor. But yeah, that's really the biggest question mark about this team. Is Joel Embiid, can he stay healthy? Paul George, is he going to stay healthy at this point in his career? He is getting older. But yeah, so 4 seed now. I'm going to have, who do I have as a 4 seed? I'm gonna have my bold claim. Both of my 4 seeds are gonna be the bold claims. I have the Magic. Now hear me out, okay? Obviously the whole point of this is a bold claim, but the Magic are one of the teams that I like the most. In terms of kind of sleeper teams, you bring in KCP. I think he's a perfect veteran for this team. He provides defense. I think obviously his shooting is going to be really good for them. And overall, I think this team is just overall a team that's kind of pretty slept on. They were pretty good last year, and they took the Cavs to 7 games in the playoffs. And I mean, Paolo Banchero, for being a first pick and for being as good as he is, I feel like he is not talked about enough. Paolo Banchero is literally, I could see him being an MVP candidate this season. I'm not even lying. Like I could actually see a world where Paolo Banchero is a MVP candidate this year. Not saying he's gonna win MVP, but you know, a candidate, top 10, something like that. Franz Wagner's still young. Could see some development from him even more. Jalen Suggs I really like. Overall, they have a really young team that I really like and could take another step in development. And adding a veteran like KCP, we see a lot of times you add just one veteran and you kind of keep that young core that's really good. Sometimes you just have a year where you kind of jump like this. And I think the Magic are going to be a team that does it this year. So I have the Magic as the 4 seed because of that. 5th seed, I'm going to have the Milwaukee Bucks. I think regular season wise, I really like the Bucks to be obviously a pretty good team in the regular season. Playoffs is a different story. I don't think Dame in the playoffs makes, too much sense in terms of defensively. It kind of holds you back, I think. That's why I don't really have them as a true contender. Obviously, offensively, he provides a lot. But yeah, they didn't really add too much to this team except for Gary Trent and Taurean Prince. But overall, do I think that's really going to make them that much better? Considering that they have Chris Middleton, who is going to be out for I don't know how long, quite a bit, I'm pretty sure. Brook Lopez, another year he's older. There was rumors that they were going to trade Bobby Portis. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good regular season team. You have Giannis, like that alone is going to make you a good regular season team. But yeah, I mean, I don't have too much confidence aside from the regular season for this team. 6th seed, I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have the Cavs. I think the Cavs have kind of a bounce back year, which I mean, I guess you wouldn't say bounce back since this is a lower seed than they were last year. But I think players like Darius Garland are gonna have kind of a bounce back year. I think Evan Mobley takes another step in developing. I know Kenny Atkinson, who they obviously got as a coach, has kind of said that he kind of wants to have Evan Mobley be more of an offensive player for them. And overall, they're kind of running it back just with a different coach like the Lakers. So I guess similar situations, 2 teams that I have as 6 seeds. As teams that have obviously a new coach, but a relatively similar team that, I think that new coach kind of makes them better. The Cavs, I can still see having a deep run in the playoffs. I think their team is really good. Do I see them winning a championship? No, but, 6th seed, I definitely think the Cavs could get. 7th seed, I'm going to have the Pacers. I think the Pacers are pretty good team. Tyrese Halliburton alone kind of elevates this team. And overall, I mean, you have Siakam, you have Miles Turner. You have a lot of pieces on this team that, maybe not in terms of names are the flashiest names. But they have really good chemistry. If you watched them play, obviously, last year, I feel like, they're just a really good team in terms of chemistry. They make the right passes. They do the right things. They look like they have fun with it. The Pacers are a fun team to watch. The 8th seed. Who do I have as the 8th seed? I'm going to have the Heat. Yeah, the Heat are the 8th seed. I'm going to have the Heat as the 8th seed. Obviously, last year it was kind of an interesting team for the Heat. They kind of struggled with having continuity and kind of just this night, this guy's out, this game. They had a lot of injuries that kind of happened. Overall, I think this team's decent. Um, but I don't think they're good enough to compete with some of these other teams. So yeah, I mean, you can't count out Jimmy Butler though, because if he finds a way into this playoffs, even as the 8 seed, you could see them in the finals. I mean, we've seen it in the past. 9 seed, however, we're gonna go with for the 9 seed. The 9 seed. The 9 seed. I'm gonna say the Hornets. I'm gonna say the Hornets. I feel like the Hornets are going to have actually a healthy LaMelo Ball, hopefully, and if that is the case, I think him and Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, I think that 3 alone is going to be good enough to get them as a 9 seed. I would really like to see what Brandon Miller is going to do in year 2 because he was really good as rookie year. And yeah, I think they're going to be good enough to be a play-in team this year. Maybe it's a little bold, but yeah, I mean, I do think the Hornets actually are going to be pretty decent this year. 10 seed, I'm going to have the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Hawks, obviously, you still have Trae Young. You still have, obviously, a few pieces. I don't know how long Clint Capella is going to be on this team, to be honest. I thought he was going to get traded at trade deadline. Or not trade deadline, in the offseason. But he didn't. So, I don't know how long it's going to last. But, you still have Onyeka. You obviously had the first pick in the draft. Jalen Johnson, does he take another step? I don't know. But I see them possibly being a team that is a 10-seed team. But I don't know. I feel like these bottom teams are kind of very fluid. But after the top 8, it kind of drops off in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, so 11 seed, I'm going to have the Pistons. The Pistons actually, I think, got a decent amount better. And the only reason I don't have them as a higher seed is because it is the Pistons. And they kind of always are bad. Even when you're like, okay, you know what? The Pistons are finally starting to build something, and then they're still bad the next year. But yeah, I mean, you brought in Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley. I think the spacing that it provides is going to be really, really good for Cade Cunningham. Like, Cade Cunningham playing with space is going to be pretty scary this year. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could see them honestly finding a way into the play-in. But yeah, I have them as the 11 seed. 12 seed. We're going to have the Toronto Raptors. You have Scotty Barnes. You have Emmanuel Quickley. You have RJ Barrett. You got some good pieces, but I don't know if it's enough in today's NBA. Not much really to say, to be honest. 13, I'm going to have the Bulls. The Bulls still have, I think, a decent amount of pieces to not be the Nets or Wizards bad, unless they obviously trade everybody before kind of, too far into the season. But yeah, I mean, the Bulls obviously still have Kobe White. Maybe, obviously, this is maybe, I mean, they're the 13th seed. I don't know why I'm saying bias, but I mean, yeah. I mean, as me liking the Bulls, I think they got, some good pieces. Kobe White, Adasumu. Don't know how long Zach LaVine is going to play for the team. I mean, same with Vucevic. Giddey, Buzelis I do really like. And yeah, so they're still going to be bad this year. So, hey, Chicago. Find a way to get Cooper Flag, please. I'm dead serious. Please get Cooper Flag. 14, I'm going to have the Wizards. Not much to really say. It's just the Wizards, yeah, they're the Wizards, okay? I do like their draft. Literally my favorite player in the draft, Bub Carrington, did get drafted by the Wizards. And overall, I mean, yeah, I would like to see some development for some of their younger guys, but this team's not good. Lastly, we have the Nets, which I think on paper is the worst team in the league. You don't really got much except Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas, and Cam Johnson. This team's not good. So yeah, that's my I guess complete list of the standings for the East and the West. Y'all let me know what y'all agree with, what y'all disagree with, and give me your kind of bold claim. I had both of my bold claims kind of here with the Grizzlies and the Magic. So yeah, y'all can give me yours. in the comments. And yeah, like I said, this is not too serious. I was kind of just, you know what, the season starts today. Let's kind of have some fun with it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and the NBA is back.